Hi, I wanted to share with you our 2022 hiring tips and trends. These are some of the things that some of our clients that we've worked with this year and many of the candidates we've connected companies with have given us some insights into things that are really important with them. And we thought it would be great to share some of that with you. Now, everyone's been talking about remote working and hybrid working, so I'm not going to bang on about that for a long time. I just wanted to talk about it just in 1 second that clearly it's here to stay. And if you haven't changed your business model and thought about hybrid and remote working, then you've got trouble ahead, unfortunately, because many organizations have, they've already embraced it. And the one important caveat to that is that if you were looking for people in your local area, you've now got organizations that are global searching for those same candidates in your local area. And that's really important to remember that, because you've got to make sure that you look after those people even more than ever and make sure that you've got a great proposition and value proposition to join and stay with and retain within your company. So remote working is really key, but think about how it might impact the people that are already within your workforce. Employee brand, something that has been talked about for years, but again, it's something that needs to really resonate with people. People are looking for a place with a sense of purpose, with a clear mission, where they feel valued. And that messaging needs to come throughout the company. The website, the communication they have throughout the interview process, the onboarding, and of course within the company already. So just think about, is there things that we can do on a micro scale that needs improving around the employee brand and the brand proposition? Or is there something bigger that we need to think about adjusting as we enter a new world of working into 2022? The hiring process needs really to be flawless. And what I mean by that is you need to sketch out exactly what happens from the initial request and requirement from within the business, how that's signed off and how that's communicated out to the outside world, and then how that interview process progresses. What stages are there? Is there any tweaks that you can make in that interview process that perhaps are redundant now, or that you've tried and it's not been working for you? Do you need as many stages? Are there different stakeholders that need to be involved in that? What communication does the candidate get, or the agency partner that you're working with, throughout the different stages of the recruitment hiring process? Has the hiring manager been trained and given support on how to conduct that interview? Again, things are changing very, very rapidly, so it's really good to stay on top of that part of the process. You've done a lot of work sometimes to get those candidates into the process where they're actually engaging with you, and it's such a shame to let that down throughout that part of the process. And that then includes the offer process, the onboarding process, and really that first 3 to 6 months run up into the business. Again, a critical stage where sometimes people can be not forgotten, but be left to their own devices a little bit, and sometimes people don't adapt well into that, and they can leave the company. So it might be worth, again, revisiting that for next year. What can you do, even if it's just yourself within a team? Is there any things that you can do to streamline, improve it, and give a better experience around the hiring process? I've talked about this on other videos. It's not all about the money, and it's just that reminder to say it isn't about always the money. Think about the other things that are important to that candidate, and make sure you dig deep and ask those questions. Find out what's important to them to join your organization. And again, it's not always about money, depending how you bring that person into the company. So we've talked a little bit about employee values or brand or employee brand proposition, but the values need to be aligned as well. And those values need to be revisited and again re-emphasized throughout the cycle, because candidates are looking for companies that they are aligned to those brand values, and it's really important to revisit those if you haven't done already. Now, the talent pool is a really interesting one that I do want to talk about a bit more, which is many organizations have a talent pool of candidates. They might have a database that they've got internally, but often these are candidate graveyards. And what I mean by that is, often or not, these hasn't been touched for years. No one's updated them. No one's kept in touch with them. People have been trying email marketing or some kind of marketing automation campaigns. But again, if you're not keeping those people up to date, whether that's by email, by phone, by text, by WhatsApp, by other communication, snail mail, whatever it might be, You need to make sure that someone is taking that ownership and responsibility for keeping that up to date. I'm sure in many organisations there's absolutely fantastic data and candidate data just sitting there doing absolutely nothing, and it's such a shame where millions of pounds or millions of dollars have been spent in building these databases and building them up. So perhaps it's now time for someone to take real ownership and work out a strategy of how you can maximize the return on your own investment, and equally find absolute gems of candidates, keep them engaged, even if you're not ready to hire them. Give them something of value in return. And there's lots of things you can do around this. It's a full-time job in itself, of course, but it's something that should be spent time on and someone should be really taking responsibility for. You've obviously seen a huge, you may not have done, but there's been a huge rise in contingent, in contract workers or temporary staff. And this is across the board, where we've seen it in the UK, Europe, and in the US, and that will continue to rise. Companies need flexible workers to come in quickly. Consultants or contractors want to still have that flexibility, even with changes in compliance and different regulation in different jurisdictions. Consultants and candidates and contractors, they want to have that flexibility on working on different projects, not being drawn necessarily into the politics of the organisation, but to deliver outcome-based work. And that will continue to rise. So if you've not considered these options before, or you've not thought about bringing people in, or want to do a comparison, it's worth having a look at that and seeing if that might be a better option for you in the business, or if you've got short-term project needs with specialist skills that you need to get delivered, or you're comparing it to other organisations or consultancies. Now's a good time to look at some of those skills as well. And the final bit about the remote working is the cross-border trade is increasing. And what I mean by that is you might have a candidate situated in the UK who's working for a Swiss-based company. He might be working for a German company, or might be working for a US company. Equally, a US candidate might be working for a French company. There's a lot of inter-border trade going on, and sometimes this is often overlooked because there's some great skills, and in particular in niche areas where you need a particular skill set that's very hard to find, even in your local country market. But now with COVID restrictions still continuing in many jurisdictions, with cross-border remote working where most people are on Teams or Zoom calls, it's really worth considering how you do that. Now, of course, the important bit is making sure that you've got compliance in place, you've got good process, and you've got a good engagement with those workers, and of course any impact that it might have on time zones. But we're a global connected world. Many organisations are already doing this, and it might be that you're missing out on great candidates. So I hope that's helpful for you. Some of the hiring trends, would love to have your comments. If anyone's got any feedback, please send me an email. I'll give you one final bonus for the year, and that's really, I just wanted to say, it's the micro actions that you take every single day that get the long-term results, particularly in talent or hiring or bringing in consultants or whatever it might be. It's those small little actions, updating the database, messaging people out, reconnecting with fellow colleagues, asking people for referrals, whatever it might be. It's those small little actions that you take every single day that will lead to a long-term positive outcome. And if you keep that up in 2022, whatever you're doing, you're going to have a successful year. My name's David Lawrence. I'm the founder here at Vine Resources. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in 2022.